All right, part 2 of how to make a pie crust. This is going to be the rolling out part. First of all, you need cling wrap or saran wrap. If you don't have this, you can cut open your bread, dump your bread out, and cut open your bread sack. And then when you're using it, make sure the print is up and not down on top of the dough, because then it will print onto your dough. It happened to me before. But luckily, I put filling in it so you couldn't read the pie, luckily, because you don't really want to read the pie. I thought my saran wrap was broken, and I kept trying to do it, and it wouldn't do it. You have to go up to cut it. Who thought of that? Somebody probably left-handed or something. Okay, see, why did they name it? They had a hard time figuring out what to name this stuff when they made it. Hey, let's just call it plastic wrap. No. And the other guy said, we're calling it cling wrap, because his was probably in a wad by then. All right. As you can see, this is our goal to be the end goal. And I already made one. That's why looks dirty. It didn't start out dirty. It started out clean, but I already got one done for my example. That's our goal. Okay. So cut out 2 pieces so it'll be wide enough for the bottom and 2 for the top, like this. Have a piece of pie crust. Okay. If you weren't watching, I would eat the pie crust because I love pie crust. Salty. You know, you don't just make sweet pies. You can make your pot pies with your leftover stew or something. All right. You don't just smash it like little kids always go, and then just start pushing it. That's wrong. You have to ease it out, because if you do it that other way, all your dough is going to go right over here. We want it here in a circle. So to do that, you got to do it each way. Now, our grandmothers just put flour down. I remember my grandma sprinkling flour down and then putting her dough, and they were so good at it. And I never could do that. I couldn't pick it up. And then the rolling pin, the dough would stick on your rolling pin. No, when you were rolling, it would stick, and then you'd go back and it would just be ruined. So in the end, when it was all done, they would flour it and roll it and carry it that way. I can never do that. So when I found out this way, my home ec teacher, when I was in 9th grade, taught us how to do it like this. So I've been doing it like this ever since. And I won the Crisco Award. Now you can see that the butter, some of the butter here is flattened out in between the flour, and that is a very good thing because it's going to make it flaky and wonderful. I gave you a pie crust recipe, but you can use your own. Okay, you take your pie pan, pie plate, pie dish, and measure. Okay, it needs to be a little bit bigger. Now, if you don't think you have enough dough to make it bigger, then you can cheat and I think I need a little more dough here because this is the short side. And then you keep rolling. It splices together, probably because of the butter in it. Now, lard, I think our grandmother used lard too, but I like the butter flavor. And I have to roll on the table. I can't roll high counter because I don't have enough pressure. I don't know what it's called. But when you're high rolling like this, you can imagine. You can't, but when you use your shoulders into it. So I like to do it low. My cookie dough, Christmas rollout cookies and everything, I like to do it on the table. Okay, I think it's the right size. Yes, you want it bigger because this concaves in. So it has to be bigger to fit inside. Okay. Now you don't want to be rough. You got to be gentle. And peel this off gently. And as you can see, it comes off good, see? If you're done making pies, you could throw it away, but we're not, so I got to say that. Now, I put it on here. I tried to put it in the middle, and then I sneak. This is kind of hard because it, like right here, it's breaking, but it doesn't matter. It will be fine. Sneak your hand under here and flip it. And you might crack it. It might break. Don't worry. It can be repaired. I always have dry throat. Sorry. Okay, push it down to the edges of the pie plate. Pie tin. It's not a tin. The glass pie plate. Okay, do it like that. Okay, now we're going to gently pull this off. Because if you do it rough and fast, it could stay stuck and then rip it. You can fix the rip, but you don't really want to because you want it to be perfect. But, you're going to put a filling in it. Now, if you were going to make a pie, pudding pie, cake filling, a pudding pie, like chocolate cream or something, and you have to bake it first. So then you would take a fork at this stage, when you're this much done, you would take a fork and go all the way around and then bake it for 10 minutes. But we're not doing that because we're going to make pumpkin out of my husband's pumpkin patch he grew. And you think you can just, let's get the jack-o'-lantern and cook it up. You can do that. But I used to do that. But I learned from my husband that there are certain kind of pumpkins that make better pie. They're called Cinderella pumpkins. Why did they name it that? Because picture Cinderella story. The pumpkin in the Cinderella story is a Cinderella pumpkin. And they're good for baking. So, but you can use the jack-o'-lantern because I've done it. But it's more stringy and you have to put it in a blender to mix it up after you cook it and bake it. Oh, I need to do a YouTube on how to make your pumpkin into pumpkin pie.
You also use sugar pie.
And thank you. My cameraman even knows this. Sugar pie and Cinderella. There's two kinds. Which would you prefer? Oh, there might even be more. Oh, there's more. Don't even. That's a gardening class. My husband gives gardening classes. If you would like to know gardening classes, comment in the list below. I don't know how they say that. Comment below, and we will put some gardening classes in the spring, and how to grow a pumpkin or something. Corn, he grows corn on the cob too. All right, now after you get this rim around here, and you could subscribe. I want everyone to subscribe because I have a person who I will not name their name out on YouTube publicly. And they told me, what do you think you're doing? Your YouTubes will never catch on. That hurt my feelings. So please subscribe so I can prove that person wrong that said that to me. Why can't it be turning out? I have good things to say and show people and learn. That's how we learn, right? We watch YouTube, the college of YouTube. Okay, now you take your two fingers like this, bunny ear fingers. And then you take your other finger and you're going to squish it in. I remember my grandma doing this. Some people do the knuckles, but I wasn't good at knuckle piercing. I like to do just the bunny fingers one. And you want to kind of, if there is like any little, up piece crumb, might burn. So make sure it's all nice and down. You can buy this little roller tool I saw once that you go around it and it does it. And then another lady went like this with her fork. But, we kind of tend to do what we grew up with. And my grandma, my mother never made pies, but my grandma did. And so it wasn't even a holiday, and my grandma would just make a pie for dessert. Wasn't that nice? And then here's one last story I'm going to tell you. My grandpa, his favorite pie was cherry pie. And so my grandma would make cherry pie for him. Well, it was this time of year, and my grandpa wanted a cherry pie. So she got out the cherry pie filling, and it was laying over on the counter forever. And she kept saying, I got to make him that cherry pie. Arthur, his name was Arthur. He wants a cherry pie. I'm going to do it. Well, he got sick, and then she couldn't make it because she had to take him to the hospital and everything. And then he ended up dying. He had emphysema, and he ended up dying. And she never got to make him the cherry pie. And she came home looking at that, and she felt so guilty. I never made him his cherry pie. I knew that because I stayed with her then after he died. And I would tell her, Grandma, it's okay. But anyway, let that be a lesson to you. If somebody you live with wants a pie or something like that, don't procrastinate. Just do it to make them happy, especially if they're old. That's my moral of the pie story. Okay, so we're going to make the fillings. We have cherries from my husband's cherry tree. We're going to make a pie. We have apples from the apple tree. We have pumpkin, like I said, and we have blackberry that we picked from Oregon, blackberries. And those are the pies we're going to have for tomorrow, our Thanksgiving dinner. So here it is. You don't need to buy your pie crust. You can actually make it cheap. Push the red button.